Hey guys, here's part two. If you're just jumping back in with us, Taylor with the Shaver Group at Cartwright Realty here in Wesley Chapel, Florida, going over mainly the buy side aspects, timelines of your purchase and sales contract so that you know what's going on each step of the way here. Okay, so we're going to pick right up where we left right off. The next timeline is going to be your loan application period. Okay, you probably just caught a ton of buyers agents, off guard here. What's the inspection period? Well, so many contracts over the past years have been an average of 5 to 7 inspection days. Okay. Now keep in mind on page 5, paragraph 12 alpha, if you don't fill in a number for your inspection period for your buyer, it defaults to 15 days after the effective date. Okay. But again, we went from a market where it was like 5 to 7 days for an inspection period, and now it's, I would say, probably 8 to 12. Most sellers are still really not willing to leave their home off market for 15 days just for an inspection. Because keep in mind, with an inspection, okay, you can cancel at any time. You can pull out at any time during that inspection period. If the sky's blue and tomorrow it's green, you're like, you know what, I'd rather it be blue, but it's green, you can pull out. Okay, there's really no validity to it, rather. Okay, so either way you slice it, this is not the next timeline. You as a buyer need to beware of referring to page 2, paragraph 8, line 97, India. Okay, buyer shall make application for financing within 5 days of effective date. Okay, this means that Mr. or Mrs. Buyer should have had your tax returns, your pay stubs, your W-2s, your bank statements, your credit pulled. Everything you need to apply for a mortgage should be completed within this time frame. If not, you are now in default of this contract. And in reality, if you have an escrow deposit in and you're past this date without being done, the seller could cancel and keep your escrow money deposit. It's not super common, but it can happen. Okay, so I'm going to go through that one more time. You have a loan application period. Okay, per the contract, it's 5 days. You can enter more days if you want. Okay, however, within that time period, all of those documents need to be with your mortgage broker, your mortgage lender, your bank, whoever you're using for financing. Okay. Otherwise, you can be in default. Okay, and you don't want to be in default, being a buyer or a seller. However, you just don't want to be in default. Now, keep in mind during your inspection period, page 5, line 260, 12 alpha, explaining your buyer's right to cancel during this period for any reason. That's what we just talked about, right? If the sky is purple and the sun didn't rise when you wanted to that day within that inspection period, you can cancel the contract and receive your escrow money deposit back. However, if we revert to last paragraph, okay, if your loan application hasn't been done and that's expired, that contingency has expired, and you're still in your inspection period, that's going to get a little gray right there. However, you've completed this inspection period, or you've completed your application period, but haven't put everything in, you're not doing your due diligence as a buyer. So you need to make sure to do your application within that set time period. Okay. Okay. Let's shift into the financing contingency. Page 2, line 89, bravo. This contract is contingent upon within, if left blank, 30 days after effective date or your loan approval period. Meaning, as a buyer, you either have 30 days or however many days your buyer's agent writes on this line to get approved for this loan to clear and be funded. And of course, there's performance required on your end as a buyer, using due diligence and instilling confidence in a buyer to, in a timely manner, provide their loan officer with their documentations to get this to closing. The updated FAR bar as is contract verbiage specifies this is a cash transaction with no financing contingency. So for all you cash buyers, there's no financing contingency. A lot of cash buyers don't do appraisals. Okay. A lot of cash buyers. So with that being said, you're going to have your escrow is going to be in jeopardy beyond your inspection period. Once you pass your inspection period, if you don't have any other contingencies that have been written in there by your buyer's agent prior to executing that contract, then you're liable to lose your escrow if you've passed all those contingencies and all those timelines. Okay, so it's just something to think about. Let's see. The updated FAR bar as is verbiage. Okay, so we covered that. With that being said, that means you don't have a loan application approval if you're cash, right? Financing contingency periods are only going to be for those that are financed. Now, obviously, you have, if there's title issues, if there's force majeure, meaning like a hurricane, a natural disaster, okay, whether it's financing or cash, yes, those things can be moved back. They can move closing back, and they can change different timelines, okay? All right. Moving on to page 6, line 280, Charlie. Seller assistance and cooperation in closing out of building permits. What this covers is if there are any open permits on the property to close, the seller has to remedy these, okay? A buyer has zero obligation per this real estate contract to pay any of these open permits, okay? So as a buyer, if your buyer's agent's telling you you need to pay whatever fees to close out permits, you need to realize your rights as a buyer. No, you're not required to per our Florida contracts here, okay? You're not. As the seller is required to do that. I bring this up because I've seen this happen after the fact, not on any of my personal deals, okay, but I have seen them on other people's. Let's move on to page 7, line 351, paragraph 16, dispute resolution. I'm covering this briefly because these transactions can become personal and very heated, okay? When heated individuals get fired up, they start threatening people with attorneys to sue the other party. This essentially advises if an escrow dispute cannot be resolved, mediation per Florida is the first step after other steps have been taken. So keep in mind, if you're saying, well, I'm going to sue the seller, I'm going to sue the buyer, okay? Well, per the contract in the state of Florida, mediation is required before anything else can be taken from there, okay? Now, while performing real estate sales in Florida, I have found it common that many other states do not have what is called a homestead exemption. For example, if you purchase a home in Florida for, say, $400,000 and apply for your homestead exemption, which at this price point for a non-veteran buyer, you will receive a $50,000 homestead exemption. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means if the county assesses your property for tax purposes and it comes back at $350,000, you would be paying property taxes on $300,000. Another reason I bring this up for you sellers and buyers, you have the ability to transfer your homestead exemption. So if you're a seller and you currently have a homestead exemption, per page 10, line 499, this will cover that for you. When you're selling your home, if it's homestead, you can transfer your homestead exemption to your new home that you're purchasing, so you don't have to miss out on the following tax year, okay? Thank you all for watching. I know it's a lot of information. It's a lot of good knowledge. We have found it to be very important for our buyers and sellers, okay? Some good information here. Please click and subscribe, like our buttons, check us out. We will be coming back to you here eventually with a seller's side of the house. Again, thank you so much. Taylor Schaberg, Schaberg Group at Cartwright Realty, Wesley Chapel, Florida. You guys have a great day.